our area. Spent some time there, talked with some of the other venerables. There was another student with us as well. I'm sure that Venerable Jidao will post some of those pictures possibly at some point. Oh.
Ooh. Sorry, TikTok. my bad. Or cheap stand here. All right. We're live on that one. We're live on this one. And we're live on everything. Okay, let's pay homage to the Buddha for a second. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama Buddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya. Good morning to all of you on the other side of the world, the east side of the world. Good afternoon to the evening to the west side. Which is going to be here morning in about 15 minutes. I'm exhausted. That's why he skipped in the chanting. And I think I said, pay to homage Buddha 4 times instead of 3. I don't know what's going on. But we were discussing, and I decided, okay, well, let's give this talk then. Fine, I'll go fire up all of the cameras and let you have at it. But let's review our day. But tell them how your teacher had to correct you today the Theravadan way. Go ahead. Because they want to know, you're a novice, you're in the middle of training, and people want to know, well, how does your teacher conduct himself during your day with other monks in a monastery and during Dhamma talks?
As far as the monastery, he had to check me on my robes and the length of them because we were at a monastery of a different tradition. And we had to make sure that we differentiated from them and made it obvious that we were visitors. So there was a few times where my robes were a little low, and Venerable made sure to make sure that I knew that my robes were a little low.
No, that's not the fun part. Tell them the fun part.
Oh, the fun part is when I was assisting Venerable Jidao with some of our personal things, and he saw me picking up heavy items, and I have some lower back pain and couldn't figure out why. And he's watching me pick things up, and I was using my back the whole time, bending over at a 90-degree angle, picking things up. He says, "Why don't you pick things up with your legs and not your back?" I had no idea what he meant. He then proceeded to say it 2 more times. I still had no idea what he meant and thought that I was doing the right thing. I was not doing the right thing. And he let me know that. The Theravadan way, per se, because it was very, very strict. And it was definitely a hit to the ego. So
I'm real nice until the Theravadan comes out. That makes me a good teacher, right? I'm a good teacher, right?
Yes.
Would you do a Google review on me?
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad.
I wonder how many stars I would get. So today, moving on forward, anyways, I love all of you. But when there's time to make corrections, then time to make correction. I mean, just put up Theravada Buddhism on Google. Just why don't you all tell me how many of them actually smile? They don't smile for a reason. Discipline above all. So today, Novice and I was talking about family values, systems and families, and the detachment from families. And today, I think obviously wants to talk more about the what, and I think eventually I will come up with the how. Right? What is the problem, and how do we fix it? But I think in family life in America, we run into a lot of things, and a lot of people hold it in. They don't really express uh, how they feel and the indebtedness that they feel towards one's family, and how that can cause you a lot of peace. So I will let you start. I know most of the time I always talk, so we'll let obviously talk about what's going on in families out there, what you've seen, what you have experienced yourself. Um, yeah, go ahead, have at it.
So yeah, like Venerable Jida was saying, we're discussing about families and the problem with families, that we've seen, experienced, felt with our heart, seen with our heart, and with a lot of problems, not just about family, a lot of different problems in the world. People are sometimes afraid to speak up about it. Feel like they won't be understood. Feel like nobody understands them. Feel like there's no point in talking because they feel like maybe when you have spoken up, try to talk to somebody, they tell you things that you've already tried, are going to try, or have tried and have not worked. That's something that I think that me and Venerable G Dao understand pretty strongly, and a lot of the times when you open up to people, sometimes people don't tell you exactly what you're looking for, or even sometimes you're not looking for any advice, you're just looking for somebody to listen so that you can vent and get it off your mind. So a big part of the problem with families, not all families, I'm not condemning all families, some families, is since we are so closely related to them, we've been around them our whole life, there are emotions that come up that make us feel possibly sometimes guilty or shameful for wanting to cut family out of our lives. But if you reflect on it, think about it, really think about it deeply, think about how much peace it's costing you, think about if it's causing you physical ailments, mental ailments, along those lines, and make an informed, wise decision of whether or not it would be best to cut certain family members out. You do not have to feel guilty about cutting family members out, or sometimes you don't even need to cut them out. Sometimes it's just good to create space and let some time pass. But I've spoke with a lot of peers, a lot of friends in the past, associates, and I've noticed that especially with Gen Z, our generation, people have a very hard time cutting out some family members. Sometimes they might feel indebted to them. They feel like their parents own them. They bought their whole life. And I've had specific conversations with specific people. I'm not going to say names to protect identities. But, I've sat there and I've asked them. I've gathered information, known, mom, dad, my friend, their siblings, everything else. Thought about it, saw what was happening, saw the amount of suffering that the family was causing. But they didn't want to cut them out, because in this instance, they felt like the family owned them. Like they couldn't do anything else. And maybe they were scared to set off on their own, start over again. But sometimes starting over is the best thing that you can do. And they're probably still suffering. And I had asked questions.
You're good.
I had asked questions at some points, and word for word, I've asked some of my friends before, when are you going to start living your own life for you? In 10, 20 years, Who's going to be paying the bills for you? Who's going to be responsible for you? Whose life is it? Parents do what's necessary for the first 18 to 21 years of their lives. Keep them alive, give them the bare necessities, what they need, sometimes more. Past a certain point, it's not going to be anybody but you. You know, like Buddhism teaches impermanence, and you can't outrun death. It's going to come sooner or later. So eventually, all of our family will pass on, whether it's a peaceful or whether it's an untimely death. One, we need to be able to make peace with that. And two, you need to realize that they're not always going to be there. You're going to have to create your own life, be able to be self-sufficient. And if they cause you suffering, if they cause you so much mental strain that you cannot go about your daily life, you can't do certain things you want to do, then you may need to cut them out. And you shouldn't feel bad about that. And if you need to speak up about that, been holding it in, holding on to things like that will do nothing good for you, for your body, and for your mind. Whether it's not you have to write it down in a journal, or you feel like you can't speak about it because nobody understands. There's so many people on this world. There's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4 people who do understand. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, family, when I'm doing one-on-one sessions, it's heartbreaking to hear the attachment we have to our families, the codependency, fear of abandonment, and of course, along the way, parents didn't grow up Buddhist, don't live the Christian way, don't live the Buddhist way, don't live the way of whatever religion or choice of philosophy. So therefore, y'all got the long end of the stick. There's a lot of pain, turmoil, resentment that's held there for decades. That's what gets me, is that when it's there for decades, holding on to anger, literally carrying this weight on one's shoulder for decades. And by the time they reach me, it's just 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old, 40 years old. Man. And the guilt that follows that. So you guys hold those questions for 1 second. I'll answer them. We'll open it up for questions here shortly. I just wanted to address this very important topic. What I wanted to do was to help people detach from certain family members who where of which it is well founded that this is the only way. Sometimes temporary, sometimes you got to cut them off for a good minute, to ensure your own peace. And again, the root cause is ignorance, because they couldn't do any better. They couldn't do any better because they don't know any better. Again, they didn't operate through the informed lens of the teachings of the Buddha, and other philosophies may not have been comprehensive and effective enough for them to treat the complicated family systems, to deal in complicated family systems. Not every family's got problems, some more than others. The depth of each person's suffering, the magnitude of each person's suffering, the perpetual cycle into toxicity, levels of toxicity, intensity and level of toxicity. My goodness, some of these horrific stories I hear literally propels me towards the path of enlightenment, because I don't want to come back. Hell, come back to a worse family system, a bad family system. I mean, I'm still dealing with my own family system right now, and obviously get to observe all of that. And I think I've shared so much and so many of it on my live feeds. Like, what's the point of me hiding it from you guys? I'd rather just use my own darn story to inspire other people. There is no point. Like I said, all of us are visitor, and let me be the first visitor to share with you how broken my own family actually really is, from every angle and every sides. It's like a vase that has been dropped, and then as we put it back together halfway, it gets dropped again. There's not enough Gorilla Glue, um, and it's like, why y'all trying me? Why y'all keep on trying me? And then after becoming a monk, they still try you, and I'm like, oh, oh, that's uh, that's not good. Uh, Before we opened up our live session here, I was telling Novice Lee about Venerable Aksit in Thailand, where of which his father, before passing away, his father passed away last year due to a gradual decline in health. But before his um, father passed away, he ordained as a monk, and that it was one of the most meritorious, courageous move, one of the most quick, swift, and effective move a person can do before they die. I'm pretty sure he does. I don't know. I wasn't there. Never spoke to him, so I wouldn't know if he knew that his death was impending. But a month later, Venerable Aksit said, my dad's in the hospital. We're dealing with it. I think he got like COVID or something. Maybe. I'm just guessing. I don't speak Thai, so I wouldn't know the full story because it was written in Thai. You hit Google Translate, of course, it's always wrong. But the because ever since I became a monk, I've been following Venerable Aksit because of his strict devotion, discipline, adherence to the Dhamma and the Vinaya. I mean, I've never seen someone that young has a full life ahead of him and decide to join the holy order and just straight on the path. So I mean, much respect. I'm pretty sure he's got more years than I do in regards to his monk years, the Vasas, not in age. I'm probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years or 9 years ahead of him, biological age. But I just wanted, of course, his parents, very devoted Buddhist, um, offer robes, offer the four requisites for the survival of monks, and then they pay respect to each other. And the whole time I'm just like, wow, that would be so beautiful if um, all families were like that, learn the Buddhist way, operate on a Buddhist code of conduct, and so on. But here we are, right? Here we are with the American family systems that we are dealing with. And the Buddha says you have to let everything go, everything and everybody, and under everybody, that also includes family, familia, la familia. And probably I have to screen the appropriateness of such suggestions. Number one, dealing with people in active situations of family life conflicts in the present moment. And the second thing is some of these comments are I'm done. Can y'all not? I guess people who are awake at 12 o'clock tend to write all sorts of silly comments. Oh, okay. Well, Boba's got to go. Boba. I had Miss Celine in ninth grade. Miss Celine called this kid a Bobo, and Boba's got to go. What's happening here?
Russell was fighting the fight for us.
Oh, thank you, Russell. God, spams. Where was I at?
Screening, appropriateness.
Good.
What's going
This is
on?
how I test Novice Lee. Make sure he's mindful. Number one, helping people deal with active situations right now, and number two, helping people deal with things that is of the past, because we know that people still hang on to the past for a very, very long time. My mother was mean to me. My mother did this to me. Typically, it's always the mother's fault, by the way, according to my professor and direct experience and self-inquiry. Um, or my father beat me, addiction, trauma, and abuse, and how we feel that and how we continue to carry that until modern day. You don't want to carry that till you're 50. My God, you don't want to insist saying about sleep and but I'm all for families. I mean, families should be cohesive. Families should stick together. But it is so unfortunate that they can't arrive to a conclusion of this is a unifying, uniform, transparent, living together in honesty. I think honesty is a very big issue. I know it was a big issue in my family. Like everybody lies to each other, and I'm like, why are we lying to each other? Um, and thank goodness the Lord God, Buddha, Dhamma, Jesus Christ blessed me with intelligence to catch their lies, because I'm like, I was born last night, right? No, I mean like just last night. Just last night I was you know, now that I'm a Buddhist monk, I get to play all sorts of jokes on. I'm like, I took rebirth last night, right? Yeah, I know I'm 35, but I took rebirth last night, right? And I have like 2 memory cells, right? So like very nothing good happens when we start off with a lie. Then you have to remember the lie that you've told. And a lot of families lie, can never get to the truth. And how do you operate on a lie and continuously lie? Where's the integrity? Where's the trust? Oh, and sit with that for a second. Where's the trust? And then there's the betrayal. And I hope everyone really sit there and let it sink in on the word trust and betrayal and lies, and how in Buddhism, if, for example, a Buddhist family would keep the precept, and the precept applies to all. In Theravadan world, say novice and fully enlightened arahant. I'm not, by the way. I'm not. Would never claim to be so. But this is an example. If I was a fully enlightened arahant and this is a novice, we both have to keep the same rules. There's no such thing as, oh, because I'm a senior monk and this is a junior monk, I'm allowed to break this rule. So that standard applies to family Buddhist life, okay, and how that could mitigate the pain and suffering, the unnecessary pain and suffering in family unit and systems. So again, a lot of these things require you all to reflect with logic, deep understanding, and compassion, and realize who's the leader. And the other thing is, go ahead, tell them about leadership in families.
When there is no clearly identifiable leader, the family will be in array. There will constantly be fighting, and not a whole lot of good comes from it. And I'm speaking from my own experience. When there's no leader in the house, each person in the household will try and fight to be leader when nobody knows how to be a leader, which in turn causes more suffering. Sometimes when we try to help, if we don't know how to help, we can unknowingly inflict more suffering, either to ourselves or to others, whether we know it or not. Something to sit on and reflect about.
One thing I always ask is, who's the leader in this home? That speaks all. That speaks all.
I have to ask that question.
Yeah, and when we sit on this, when I sit on this other side watching the mom, the dad, the husband, the wife, and stuff like that, and it's like, who's the leader? There's no leader, and they both look at each other, and I'm like, So both of you all are leaders? We got two presidents in the one home? What's happening here? Leadership is very important, very salient. Um, and then sometimes when there's no leaders, you have to be the leader. Yeah, you the son. Yes, you the daughter have to be the leader. Stand up and you have to take control. Not like Hitler dictatorship type of control, but you have to, put your foot down and draw the line, establish boundaries. There's so many things to do. So it's all, the art of family management is available on online. Family Systems, Bowen's Family Systems, psychologytoday.com. But we hope to bring that soon to all of you. The Family Systems model and how we're going to help you all address it. But I think it's good to hear from Novice Lee. I think everyone's been waiting. Everyone knows that he was recently ordained, and everyone's like, "Ooh, how is he coming along?" And I figure I let Novice Lee contribute. This is part of his program. Is if you have an idea and you think it's beneficial under right speech, then okay, well, I'll drag myself out here like I always do, and let's fire this thing up and inspire. We know that these words can be very comforting for all of you. We know that a lot of you have this thing on your chest that you want to be understood, to be seen, to be heard, and to be respected. And we have compassion, we do this because we have the deepest compassion for all of you, because we both have gone through this and is still going through this right now. Is still going through this right now as venerables. Venerable Lee, Venerable Tao is still trying to crack the whip in the most compassionate way in our own family systems. And we're just like, sometimes we're just like, are you kidding me? The things that they do in front of us, the things that they do to us, and fueled by ignorance of the Four Noble Truths, we're just like, oh. One part of his training is interfaith, meaning he studies from other traditions also, including the Christianity world. Yes, God loves us. God loves all of you. And so tell me the one thing you learned in Christianity about forgiveness.
Never tired of forgiving and never tired of asking for forgiveness.
So therefore, we have to borrow certain things. And sometimes we monks have to also remind ourselves of the teachings of Christ and all of the great cardinals that came before us, which is never tired of forgiving and never tired of asking for forgiveness. And sometimes at the end of the day, you get Buddhist monks having a conversation with Jesus just because we're just like 84,000 teachings. We're applying it to our own family. Ain't working out. Heck, it might be us, right? It gotta be us. It's our fault, right? It's his fault, right? It's the fault of the monk of 1 million followers, right? I'm doing something wrong, right? So, oh dear God, give me the strength to forgive them and forgive myself. That's how complicated some families actually really are. And so, and this is a mutual understanding, right? Is it not? Mutual understanding of what we have to go through as humans. But we're all in this together. And I'm quite determined to live a peaceful, tranquil life, a life of equilibrium, no matter what it takes. And I mean, I'm putting my foot down, which I've disclosed before. It's effective, I tell you that. Maybe sometimes the Buddha would frown on it, but I'm sharing some of this with Novice Lee, and I'm saying, one day I'm gonna have to stand in front of these folks, and they're gonna judge me, and I'm gonna have to make my case, like, a public defender that I am, and I'm like, what else did you wanted me to do? I mean, they have active ignorance, and they're hard-headed. They're hard-headed with ignorance. The two things so difficult to treat.
As well as greed.
As well as greed. I've inspired millions, and it's like I can't with this particular person in my own family. You told us the how. I used the how that you done told us. Ineffective. It's like amoxicillin. Draw it out of the tube. Pop. Inject. No effect. No avail. Best available science and medicine. What do? You better call CDC. Can't. Ain't working out. It's called AMA. So, um, we just have to do. We have to do our best and return back to our own practice the best that we can, and see where we can make adjustment and change, because the Buddha would want us to make adjustment and change. He wants us to look back at our blueprint, so that we will. We got a long life to live, and of course we're young, so yeah, we're gonna make mistakes, and we ourselves probably still ignorant. So we will, go back to 84,000 teachings, review it one more time. Maybe we missed something. We need to look at how we say it, when to say it, where to say it. Maybe at a lake. Sometimes not what you say is how you say it. Maybe we have to practice the how again. Because in family, we know it's difficult to remain objective. And, because subjective emotions, the ability to remain calm. People often ask, do y'all monks got supernatural powers? Yeah, we do, actually. One of them is the ability to remain calm. And we try our best. Some of us still in a training. And we try our best to remain calm, collective, so that we can hear them. We can hear ourselves. When you remain calm, you can hear yourself. You can hear the physiological change, the anger that is arising thing. So you can tame it. Ultra mindfulness. So yeah, if had anything, again, like I said in college, mindfulness tend to cure a lot of problems. So by and through this practice of mindfulness, you all will get there. And we are here to share our journey with you, and to help you through your journey, and to share with you all our trials and errors and tribulations of our own family, because it's an experiment, isn't it? I look at it as an experiment. Life is an experiment. My life is an experiment. My journey is an experiment. And that's all we can do, right? And sometimes the people in our family are like little rats. Not in a condescending way, but it's like, oh, okay, well, let's test this experiment and see how well it works, how they will respond. Operant conditioning, classical conditioning, and see how well they, just how well. So, and of course, we also have other teachers that we consult with. A lot to do in so short time as humans. We have a couple minutes for questions. Let me see here.
We had a good one over here.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Thank God he another pair of eyes. Go ahead.
You read that. We got a spammer over here.
How you deal with anger? It goes pretty quick, so whatever spam is going on, go ahead. There's a lot of questions, competing questions.
Why don't we answer Amanda's question over here first? She has a pretty good question.
As a parent, I often observe that my child seems to have natural tendency to lead more sattvic life. He's never eaten meat in his life. He's so compassionate. He meditates on his own too. Is that it? I would like to help guide him, but I don't have to guide him with the bodhisattva vows. How old is he? We need to know more information before we give recommendation. This is a very broad question. So Amanda, if you want to reach out to my email and put a more comprehensive story about what's going on, the number one Vietnamese interpreter at Gmail, the number one Vietnamese interpreter at gmail.com. How do you avoid anxiety, overthinking? First, start with
mindfulness,
no, before that. First, start with
meditation.
no, back up even more. First, start with
Drawing a blank here.
cognitive behavioral therapy.
Cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's funny because I was thinking that when I read that.
So when asked about anger earlier, you want to address that?
About anger, so anger a lot of the times proliferates because of personalization. If you've ever seen any of Venerable's videos he puts out, you notice he's always very, very nice to people.
Sometimes.
Strangers.
Okay.
99.9% of the strangers. Because you never know what somebody has going on in their life in the moment, past 10 minutes. You never know what somebody has going on. So that's why we try to lead with kindness and try to bring smiles to people's faces, because I know myself, when things would get hard, I would go into work. You never know I had anything going on. So, when you come off rude to somebody or mean or degrading, that could be the one thing that sets them off. So lead with kindness, and you also have to be mindful of yourself, your own actions, your words, and your emotions, which again boils down to, I would say, going into the CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, that will help you and teach you, learn ways how to control anger and emotions, deal with certain things, not personalize certain things. And upon examination of friends and peers, personalization of certain topics or things that are said when they are not meant in that certain way can lead to a lot of anger. And that's one big one that I've noticed and realized through real life experience. Personalization can be one quick way to lead you to anger.
I would also invite y'all to go to my YouTube, Chidao Monk on YouTube. A lot of talks on anger. It's something I dealt with for a while. My whole life, actually, growing up as an angry kid. Nothing good happens if you don't address it soon. I'm telling you, cardiovascular health ain't no joke.
So there's a question, if you want to scroll down a little bit on here. Somebody was asking about a book for the CBT or a link or something like that.
Cognitive Behavioral Therapy by Wilson and Branch. Cognitive Behavioral Therapy for Dummies by Wilson and Branch. What's the easiest way of quitting bad habits? It depends on what the bad habit is.
And it also depends on how long the habit has been going on for. It also is very dependent on the person as well.
What we find attractive with that habit?
I find the unattractive nature of it.
That's right. So if your habit is smoking, you need to look up the unattractive nature of that with smoking. That's just one example.
If anybody's been in school and had a health class, I know that they brought that pair of pig lungs out and showed you them breathing. So if you need help to quit smoking or some motivation, think back to the pig lungs in the health class in school. You're welcome for the recommendation. Look at that. My daughter, when young, used to make me buy birds and fish so she could release them. Why?
Merit release. You can touch up on that one.
So
we just did them. We just did a merit release not too long ago.
sounds like your daughter has a very good heart, and she wants to, most likely, she wanted you to buy them in order to release them back to their natural habitat and prolong their life. Which in Buddhism, when you prolong another being's life, it will in turn prolong your life as well. Merit release.
Someone asked about the attachment to deities and how to detach.
Mm.
Well, because you found something attractive about deities, whoever, right? And again, you need to look at scientific-based evidence about those deities, whether or not it's actually true, and if it's beneficial, or you can see direct results from such attachment to deities. In Theravada Buddhism, we pay homage respect to the one and only historical Gautama Buddha. So
That's a pretty good question too.
go ahead, have at it. Russell asked what?
Russell asked, how can I help myself to understand why so many people are distracted, always looking down at the phone, not looking up and around at the world around? Really, that just has to do with people trying to be distracted through entertainment, trying to distract themselves from their own problems or problems going on in the world that they don't want to face or deal with. And it brings them a temporary source of joy or happiness, because people do not want to suffer in the short term in order to negate suffering in the long term. It's one of the hardest things to do is to look at your own flaws and look at your own problems and deal with your own problems. And that's one way that I've seen that people trying to distract themselves, intentional distraction, to avoid their own problems or problems that are going on in their life. I think you should take this one.
You can have a try at it. This way, it sets a baseline so that we know how much he will grow as a novice in a couple months when he learns about death and all that. Go ahead to touch up on that one.
So David asked, can you mention some ways for me to help face my own death, which I am afraid of even when I am going to bed to sleep at night? As far as facing your own death and getting over the fear of it, it really just leads to karma. And if karma wants you, karma is going to have you. It leads back to what you've done in your past life, present life, and or as far as not being afraid of it, when you realize the true nature of death and of life, everybody is going to die. That goes back to impermanence, and nobody's here forever. So when you realize the true nature of life and the unattractive nature of life is death, decay, and disease, then once you truly understand that, it takes a little bit of the fear away. Once you can accept that everybody is going to die at some point. And there's also a lot of good things to look at as far as the amount of time that you've spent on this earth as a visitor. When I had first gotten interested in Buddhism, I had a friend who actually passed away. His life was taken at 19. And that was a big wake-up call. At any point you could leave this earth, so you need to live your life as if every day was your last day.
Well, let me add, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I think we all ponder that question of fear of death, right? When am I going to die? How am I going to die? Where am I going to die? Who am I going to die with? Or by myself? All of us ponder that from time to time, reminded of death when we see celebrities die, people close to us die. I hope to inspire all of you to live a life giving more, taking less. Because I mean, for myself, right, if I drop dead in the next 30 seconds, I'd be happy. You ever seen a monk dead in a coffin with a big smile like this? Why and how? Well, because I dedicated my life in giving and inspiring people. So, what is there more to give? I've given everything that I've have, and I know that I will be remembered. There will be countless stories. So, therefore, people fear death because you must ask yourself, what's the root cause of it? You are afraid you might perish, and no one's going to remember you. What have you done? What have you given back? Because planet Earth, Mother Nature has given you life. God's giving you life. The universe giving you life. And what did you do with this life while you were here on this planet? And it's something deep and profound for 21-year-old novice Lee here to also reflect a life well lived. Good life equals a good death. And that's all we can do. We have this very short 70 years, if you're lucky, 70 years, all the sugar, cancer causing agents that is out there. Um, and your kidneys, however you've however, impending heart attacks. Again, if karma wants you, it will yank you, no matter if you exercise every day, no matter. I think some doctors kind of know that. I mean, there's some doctors I've met, and I'm like, sometimes I just want to sit there and like remind them, like, do you realize that the recent research says a little bit of belly fat is dangerous? And they're just coming in with this humongous belly. I once worked for a family physician, a family doctor, Ivy League graduate. Listen, an Ivy League graduate. And when you open his door, I've never seen so many cases of Coca-Cola. I took instant rebirth. Every time when I open that door and I see Coca-Cola, I took rebirth. I died and came back to life. And I think some doctors, maybe they are very spiritually advanced and they realize that, well, ain't no matter how many Cokes I drink, if karma wants me, it gets me. Or I can quit Coke, drink water, exercise every day, and if my karma comes, it would still. I don't know. I just don't know. My thing is to use the best available science so that to prolong your life and do what science tells you to do, which is not too much of anything, moderation, the middle way, like the Buddha taught. So that even if karma does yank you, you can't blame yourself. Because if it does yank you, the first thing you're gonna blame is too much Coca-Cola or cocaine or whatever it is going on in your life. I mean, who are you gonna blame, right? You blame yourself first. Don't blame nobody else. I would say this. I would say that, I mean, you all chose me as your teacher for a reason. And in one of the existential question is, how do I overcome the fear of death? Well, simple. Follow my lead. How? Number one, let's resolve any issues that is stemming from the past. Anything that costs you peace, let's resolve them. And then subsequently, learn to channel all of the gifts. Learn to channel all of the gifts that the universe have given you and inspire other people by and through your own peace. There's many ways to do that. It's all right here on the library of teachings on YouTube. You do that, and I mean, what more there is to ponder about life? In my short 35 years, I'll be 36 this June. I've seen a lot enough to render a conclusion that if I was to die in the next 30 seconds, I don't think I would miss much. What is there? I've had close to 2 decades of clinical experience of law and medicine and social work. I mean, that just summarizes the whole entire world. I don't need to study the star planet and moon and Pluto and all that and I'm not missing out. I came, I conquered, and I left. How did I conquer? By giving more and taking less. By bringing joy and happiness to strangers and people. by teaching for free and not charging money. And these are, some of the bragging rights as you are floating up into heaven. And that's how you overcome the fear of death. It's the quickest way I can think. So, all right. So,
We are not stressed. Don't worry.
we're just really we're just really
We're not
tired.
stressed,
We're
it's
just really
okay.
tired. It's it's almost 1 a.m, and on a I may look stressed because I'm don't pay too much attention. We're wrapping it up anyways. Sometimes you have to just sometimes glance over and catch one and stuff like that. Oh, that's a good one actually. How to overcome betrayal. Damn, that's a deep one. Well, quite you know what? I mean, out of all the months that I know, I mean, I'm the one that self-discloses a lot, and I've been through a lot of betrayal myself. It's an amazing, it's a miracle that I appear, like publicly, just because because you don't trust people anymore. You know what I mean? Once you've been betrayed, you don't want to trust people anymore. You don't want to give them the benefit of the doubts. But you learn your mistake. You realize that yeah, they did betray you. And of course, I don't know the details of it, into the details of it, but you got to learn psychology. The advancements of the mind leads people to gaslight the hell out of you, gaslight the hell out of everybody else around you, manipulate you. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's a new kind of evil. It's a book on it. So crap, we have a lot of books we have to catch up on. So again, fool me once, fool me twice. You ain't gonna fool me. Don't let them fool you twice. By the way, and if it's the third time, we have a problem. If it's the third time, again, psychologytoday.com gives you all the insights that you need to know about betrayal. It takes time to heal. Feel it. Don't go through it. Go through what happened. Face the pain head on. Write about it. Narrative exposure therapy. Don't push it away. It hurts. It sucks when people betray you, and it is always, most likely, the closest to you.
Yep. Whether that's family or very good friends.
It's like, what the hell? Once you hear that statement coming from us, coming from other people, and it's like, and then you start looking at people closest to you. He's closest to me. I'm calling the FBI on you.
I already called them on you.
Oh, great. And it's like, wow, how dangerous people can be. It's like double-edged sword, right? People can be loving, the most loving and most loyal the world has ever seen. But at the same time, they can be like, knife right in the back. It's like, you know what I mean? So but who do you blame, right? You got to find the middle way of giving more, taking less, but also draw boundaries and stuff like that. But you have to learn the how. And studying psychology teaches you the how to be assertive, to be honest with integrity, all of the life skills that's necessary to maneuver skillfully with humans. Okay, folks. All right. Running out of breath. We have a full day tomorrow. We promise to make time to reconvene around this time because all the Gen Zoomers tend to just stay up late. But hey, you all here with us. But rest assured, we're not stressed. We're just exhausted. And why are we up this late? Well, because study and practice. And of course, after study, he wants to reflect. And I fire all these things up so that he can give back to the people what he has learned so far and an accurate account of his training so that senior teachers can look at and evaluate me. Hopefully I'm doing my job correctly according to the Theravadan way. But I think Novice Lee really is going, he's going to sleep well tonight, realizing that he's contributing knowledge to the world the best that he can with what he has learned so far and is continuing to learn. Any last words? Venerable Lee. And by the way, I'm trying to cultivate him to be the next Ajahn Lee, because we all know Ajahn Lee, right? Ajahn Mun, Ajahn Lee, Ajahn Cha, all of the lines of the Arahants, and he's Gen Zoomer, so we all have to contribute and support his path to be the next Ajahn Lee of the 21st century, to help and dominate and tame the minds, the new evil in the world, because this is the color of goodness and dedication to peace, whereas goodness struggle to prevail over evil. But he's got what it takes. My selection standards is quite up there. We want quality, holy men that keeps the precept. So, man, 1 a.m. Any last words? Whew.
I'll try and keep this quick. I saw somebody say it's 5 a.m. there. So
You need to read this book then. Sleep well and live well. You up at 5 a.m.
one, I'd like to say I'm nothing but a visitor. And make sure you practice mindfulness. Make sure you practice dana. If you don't know what dana is, I invite you to Google it. And be mindful of what you say when you're around other people. And be mindful of your thoughts when you are alone. Other than that, we've got to get to bed. And we will hope to see you guys tomorrow. And we'd like to just say thank you to everybody out there that is joining the lives and saying thank you to us as well. Other than that, I hope everybody has a good night.
He popped that book out of nowhere.
Yeah, somebody was saying, let him speak, bro.
I know, right? Oh, man.
All right, guys. But we hope you guys have a good night. Anything you'd like to say?
No, give you all a blessing before we leave, huh? May you all be well, be happy, be free, always be healthy. May you continue to live happily every day. Find meaning and purpose in your life. Reflect on the teachings of the Buddha. May you always keep your heart open so that love can find its way in. May you learn about people so that you can deal with them skillfully and effectively. May you have compassion for people. May you cultivate deep understanding so that compassion can arise. May you be healed and be a great source of healing for other people in the world. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and until the very next time, take care. And visit my YouTube, Jidao Monk on YouTube. Let's end that one.